Hello and welcome to the channel. If this is your first time joining us, welcome teacher friend. My name is Jocelyn and I am an online English and Spanish teacher. I have been teaching online for the past 3 years and I have learned quite a bit in my time at doing so. One of the newer platforms that I am working on is called Outschool, and you may have heard me talking about it in some of my other videos, which I'll link above. Outschool is a really cool platform where teachers are able to work independently, create their own curriculum, and teach their passions. And because you are an independent teacher, you also get to create your own schedule, which is both really exciting and also sometimes a little overwhelming because you have lots of different options. As I am creating this video right now, we are approaching summer, which means a lot of teachers are beginning to create those summer schedules, thinking about what they're going to be doing outside of the classroom, how many hours they want to be teaching or dedicating to Outschool or possibly to other platforms where you have to create your own schedule, and it can sometimes feel a little stressful. So, in today's video, what I want to do with you is share 3 things that you need to consider before creating that schedule. This could be when you are transitioning to your summer schedule or possibly to your school year schedule or however often you switch up your teaching schedule. For me, I typically keep the same schedule from September to May, and then I switch over to my summer schedule, which goes from June until about mid to late August. My times fluctuate a little bit, as do the courses that I offer. My summer classes tend to be a little bit more fun and lighthearted and related to the summer season, whereas my school year classes focus a little bit more on core concepts. So let's get into it. What are the 3 things that you need to consider before creating that summer schedule, especially if this is your first year teaching online? So, what I suggest to you is to first take out a notebook where you can start to jot down some of your ideas. I'll also be linking a free template that you can use, which can help guide you through this process as well. I will leave that down in the description box below if you want to click it and check it out and either complete it while you're watching this video with me, or you can complete it afterwards. So the first thing that you should consider when you are creating your own schedule is, where is the demand? And Outschool has the really cool tool to help you with this. They have a chart, it's in Pacific time, and it outlines the most popular time slots that students are taking classes. I will link that down in the description box below if you want to take a look and use that to help you gather what times are the most popular on this particular platform. If you are working with another platform, you might have to do a little bit more independent research if that platform doesn't offer something like this. If you have been teaching for a while, you may also want to look back in your history to see what times have been popular in the past. I am now approaching my second full summer teaching on Outschool, so what I have been doing is going back to the classes that I offered last summer, looking at my past sections and then seeing which ones had the highest enrollment and then looking at the times for those. And I think it's a pretty good indication that those times might be popular again this summer. So tip number 1 is to look for where is the demand. What times are students wanting to take classes? Another suggestion to help you figure out the demand and when students may want to take classes with you is, if you are currently teaching on the platform, reach out to the families that you work with and ask them, what times would you like to have classes this summer? I recently just sent out a Google survey to all of my Outschool families asking them what times they want classes this summer. I gave them a lot of different options and then they could click the ones that work best for them, or they could let me know that they're going to take a break this summer, which is fine as well. A lot of students do take a break during the summer. So those are just a few different ways that you can start to gather some information about where the demand is. The second thing that you should consider is, when do you actually want to teach? Right? Because you want to make sure that you are feeling good, that you're creating a schedule that is sustainable. So if that means that you like to have really slow mornings where you can sit, enjoy your coffee, maybe do some yoga, go work out, and then start your day a little bit later, then maybe that's what you should do. Or if you're an early bird, maybe you want to wake up and first thing you're doing is knocking out all those classes and then you have the whole afternoon free. This is going to change a little bit depending on your personality and when you feel most productive. So, if you're not really sure where to start, what I would suggest is stopping for a moment, closing your eyes, and just thinking about if money were not an issue, if student schedules were not an issue, what would my ideal schedule be like? How many hours would I ideally want to teach? And when would I want to teach those classes? So, don't think about any of the realities that go along with creating this schedule, but just create your ideal schedule. Once you're done with that, then we want to think about factor number three. And factor number three is I want you to think about when you have the most energy. Because if you have ever taught online before, and especially if you're working with younger students, it takes a lot of energy, right? You have to keep their focus while they are not in the same physical space as you. So you want to make sure that you are teaching your classes when you actually feel like you have energy. And this ties a little bit into that ideal schedule that you were thinking about earlier, but it's going a little bit deeper because, of course, with your ideal schedule, maybe you have a yoga class that you really like to take in the morning, or you have a workout class that you'd like to take in the afternoon, or some other commitment that might prevent you from teaching at that time. But that time might also be a part of the day when you do feel like you have a lot of energy, right? So there might be some conflict there, and you're going to have to decide which of your priorities takes precedent when you have energy or maybe needing to attend to that other commitment, whether it's a yoga class, picking your kids up from school, or doctor's appointments. I don't know. It's going to be different for everybody. So, once you have thought about these three factors, right, you've listed out the times that your students are interested in taking classes when there's a high demand for classes on your platform. Then your second is your ideal schedule, right? When you would ideally like to teach your classes. And that third and final thing to consider is when you have the most energy during the day. So once you have those three lists, I want you to start looking for where there's overlap. So, in an ideal scenario, you would find a time that is in high demand for the students that either you currently teach or you hope to teach in the future. And that time coincides with a time when you're actually available and want to teach, and is at a time that you feel like you have a lot of energy. And so you might have some time slots where everything lines up and it's like, perfect, this is great, definitely gonna add a class at that time. But then you might have some other class times, for example, where the demand is really high, but it's at a time of day, maybe right after lunch, where you don't feel like you have a lot of energy. So then you kind of have to factor in, well, which takes precedent? That student demand, like, can I still get enough students at other times of the day to make up for not offering it at that time where I know that my body just doesn't feel at its best? Or if it's a really high demand, then maybe it's kind of worth it just sucking it up, drinking some coffee beforehand, and pushing through. It's going to depend on really how many slots you're able to open and how much you ultimately have to earn. I know a lot of people teach online just for like a little side hustle, and then some people do it for their main income. So again, you have to factor those things in as well. But hopefully, fingers crossed, there's going to be a few time slots where you feel like you have high energy, it's a time you want to teach at and are available to teach, and you have that student demand as well. But regardless, those are three really, really important factors to consider when creating your teaching schedule. As always, I hope you found this helpful. If you have other questions or are still feeling a little bit lost, feel free to post a comment down below, or you're always welcome to reach out to me on Instagram. I love connecting with fellow teachers and sharing some of the things that I've learned in the past so the process can be easier for you here in the present. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you are not already, please go ahead and subscribe because I would love to see you in some future videos. Have a great rest of your day and happy teaching, friend!